Hi guys, this is Sydney. So I'm on camera today because I feel like I just wanted to be. And as always, I have stuff that I'm working all the time on a day-to-day basis, receiving messages and consolidating, reflecting. But for some reason, it wasn't like a strong pull that I needed to share a specific message, even though I have certain messages with me all the time. But it's just about the timing and my spirit team, my higher self, Source and Gaia, when they want me to share, I will do it. But it wasn't like, it's a different kind of a feeling today, but I just felt like I wanted to be on camera. And so I want this to be more like a casual, relaxed, where I'm just talking. And then if the Ascension messages come out, then it'll be it, or transmission or whatever, or however it flows. I will just flow with it. So I have my coconut water here with me. Just drinking. So we just had the 10-10 yesterday, another 10-10 in the Libra season. So I don't know how you guys all been doing, and all been wrapping up the karmic cycles or any contracts like soul contracts, karmic contracts, any of those. You could have experienced those old energies coming up again. But this is pretty regular or periodic, I would say, during these cycles of endings and new beginnings, or any rebirth, or any leveling up of your energy in a sense. When these things happen, the old energies come in to... There are different perspectives to look at it. One would be, okay, they're coming into test, or like make sure that you're not falling for what you used to fall for. So it can be seen as a test, or like a strengthening of your muscles in a way, like a training, final training, to see whether you are strong enough now to say no, or to not fall for those traps or old ways, or however it is for you. Or it could be seen as some sort of external influence of interference, because they exist, even though, you know, we understand that everything that you experience on the outer is the result of the inner. So all these things that you're creating, even like the negativity that you see as something of an outside force, because you hold certain vibration or frequency that isn't matched to that, you're attracting it. In a way, that is very much true. And from my own experience, what I also learned was that there are also other entities that are kind of, you know, they call it, I learned this term, monitoring spirits, which they exist from my own experience, and they try to basically interfere with any light expansion. So that could also be a case, but whatever it is, at the end of the day, however you view it, perceive it, it's about how you deal with them. Meaning, if you get scared of them, then that's the fear that you hold inside that will give them or feed them more power, and so they end up having power over you and you getting affected. So it's like kind of interplay between all these different aspects, I would say. One part is part in you, the other certain other external forces that are trying to use this dynamic, right? Your inner becomes outer. So they show up to not like directly interfere you, but like make you go into fear, so that they can come in and manipulate and influence you on a certain level or something like that. So They may plant some sort of seed in your mind of some sort of scarcity or fear or doubt all of a sudden, and you start to feel, or your mind starts to get caught up in that thought, and it starts to generate in that direction, and then with that it gets louder, it gets bigger, and then that's how you are suddenly going to be influenced by these lower vibrations. So the first thing is not to fear anything. So that's where it's like, fuck fear, or get the hell out of my field now, because you're in command basically. And when you have that energy with you, they can seep through because it's very like strong, but when it weakens, the aura, they come in, because it's energy, they trying to go through like your cells, and there are spaces, empty spaces between like the neutron, electron, proton, and how it's all made up, and that void spaces they are filling in, they come in, and it's like the word that is coming is hijack. So it's very much like all these movies or these dramas dealing with these, like, they kind of create a visualization of how these energies work, and that's basically how it is actually in actuality. So ever since I got here, I've been connecting with the energy of Atlantis, as I shared a little bit in my YouTube shorts, where I was walking, and then I was walking along the ocean, and I started to connect with the energy of the ocean water, and then all of a sudden the Atlantis comes in. Back when I was in Hawaii, it was Lemuria. And now, especially the word that came the first time I arrived here was Atlantico, and the white flame, which I was given the information prior to coming here when I was in Hawaii. So at this time, what I can say is a lot of the souls right now in the collective, especially the 144,000, if you resonate with that, are working with remembering the Atlantis timeline, because we've been going through a lot of the issues or dealings with the power struggles of that pattern of power struggle that's from the ego structure that we heavily lived with or conditioned or programmed with. And then we were in Pluto retrograde, and it went direct recently, but since that, during that time, we were to heavily go into that dynamic and look at all those negativities and all those byproducts and all those historical moments. And when I first got here, this place where I'm staying in, it's all guided by my spirit team. The message that I received a few days later was that we need your help, and immediately when I saw that word in Portuguese and I received the message, I knew that I meant to be here for some reason. I needed to clear the energy by going around the town, because this area is very much the remnants of the colonial era, just like when I was in Australia, Sydney, Australia, that town, they had me connect constantly with the past timelines, 1800s and 1900s. And here it's pretty much the same, but the level of the underworld that I needed to go in was lighter than when I was back in the Sydney, Australia. The dark energy there was more severe from what I experienced. Here I had to go to the underworld, so-called, going into the deep darkness of those past timelines and the energies contained within the land or the location around here. Here they suffered a lot with the power struggle, the idea of power struggle, the Afro-Portuguese or Afro-Brazilian, where all these Africans were shipped to Brazil for like hard labor, and that's where all these like mixed cultures came in. And the remnants of that were a lot of the discrimination or this class distinction right now here with the economy as well. Only a few percentage of population hold most wealth in Brazil, and the rest of the population, they're very much in poverty. This area around is very much like well-to-do type of neighborhood, considered very safe, where I went outside a little bit one time and you could see the difference just visually very clearly, where the houses and just the safety level is completely different. So this area is very much guarded in the sense, which means this was an area where a lot of the colonialists used to live, the wealthy colonialists. So the dark energy is very much concentrated here as well. And a lot of the enslavement took place. And so the energy that I needed to tap into was that energy of the power struggle, the power structure, and also for some reason I started to connect very heavily with that, the Cristo Retender. That's how it's pronounced here. It's the Cristo Redeemer the Cristo or something like that. And with that, the messages that I've been receiving was the Christos. So in regards to the idea of the Christ and the Christ consciousness, as a lot of people are already aware, it's very much was manipulated. It's nothing from the original, from what we know today. And so that's how they have been very much able to effectively condition people through that belief. And it's the same here as well. So there is very much heavy energy of that effect. And that Christ, from what I was investigating, the Christ Redeemer, it was proposed when Brazil had the independence, and then it stopped because that monarchy ended due to the independence of Brazil. But then the church, the people there, they propose once again, because people are, getting out of certain things, and it's not good morally or something like that. And so they it got through, and then it passed, and then they built the Christ, the Redeemer. And whenever I'm connecting with that energy, and there's a specific church that I passed by a couple of times, that's in Ipanema, just my throat chakra went wild. And there were a lot of energies that I needed to clear up that was affecting the throat chakra. And so right now, a lot of these energies were to anchor that power struggle, that the superior, the owner, and the inferior, the slaves. And with that, the biggest issue now that has been inherited down from one generation to the next is the narcissism. Extreme to a very light narcissism to an extreme narcissism. So that's very much the remnants right here. And the energy was very interesting because people seem to be very more in a loving energy, but at the same time, when you get to know them a little bit better, there's like narcissistic tendencies that I noticed. It's quite interesting because it's not very much overtly shown at first glimpse, but the little bit after a little bit of conversation or interaction, because I think maybe because I tap into their energies quite easily, like the subconscious, and that's what I do as my job, right, and my gifts. So I can pretty much like pick up on that. And it's very much rooted in the class distinction, the economic gap. That's still very heavy right now, the haves and the not haves. But that energy is very different from what I experienced when I was in Southeast Asia, like in Cambodia or other countries, where it was more like a begging energy there. And then it was from a very extreme trauma of the survival. But here, when I tap into the energy and all the interactions that my spirit team wanted me to have for certain information that they carried, was about the power. Who has more power? So they're like fighting for power in a way, like that's their inner shadow that they have inherited, I would say, from their ancestors or the patterns. And it's still going on. And even though it's like there's like a hate towards the haves here, but then it's not overtly shown. Like it's kind of hidden inside, and it is expressed as like a passive aggressive, or like that sheer gaslighting, or a little bit of narcissistic tendencies, like sort of self-deceptions that, like here everything's nice but it doesn't have any culture, whereas where I'm from in the north, we don't have much money but we have a lot of culture, and it's like this kind of pride they're playing with. That I know it cannot be true for like every individual, of course, because I'm just tapping into a specific topic while I'm here for a specific period of time. So I'm just sharing that's what my spirit team and my higher self, Source Gaia, they wanted me to be in connection with for a certain purpose. So everyone's experience in Brazil or this area may be different, right? But that's what I have experienced and noticed, and was guided to take notice of for Gaia's Ascension, or the Gaia's energy. And so one day, I remember walking all the way from here to like the end of Ipanema, almost to the beginning of Copacabana. And when I was passing through that Ipanema area where the church was, my throat chakra went wild, and I started to like do light language to transmute something. And I was doing this the entire time. I was walking and I was going around, and I connected with the sun very much that day, and then also the like sunset energy later on. And it was about 2-3 hours, and I was doing the light language the entire time, transmuting something. That was very similar to when I was what I did when I was in Cambodia, Siam rape, because the energy there, like from the survival trauma and that victim consciousness, is so heavy. And at the same time, I was tapping into very much of the resilient energy here, the resilience of the the African slaves here that came. Even though they were enslaved, for some reason they kept their energy very optimistic and vibrant, was what I was tapping into. And that they remained very positive even during the entire enslavement period. They stayed very positive, upbeat, optimistic. They remained very resilient. So that was the energy that really was very impressive, that they carried, and it carries out in the music and the culture. A lot of the current culture is from that era, is from the colonial era. What's that? The Brazilian martial arts, like the Kaio something, is also from that enslavement era. So it was the Africans who came here for labor. They started to incorporate dances and the movements, and they created this kind of unique Brazilian martial art, now represented as the Brazilian culture very much around the world. So their influence on the cultural side is very heavy. And it was very interesting also at the same time. I started to connect very heavily one night with the inheritance or the children of the Germans who went through the Nazis. So the Jews who were able to escape from the Nazi experience. And all the gas chamber started to come through, and I was taking a shower, and here, like, the infrastructure is very different. So the water is heated with the gas, and one day I was taking a shower and the water just didn't work. The hot water wouldn't come out, so I had to wait and adjust a little bit in the shower. And then all of a sudden that timeline came through as if I was in a gas chamber, going into a gas chamber, and that was really horrifying. So that was another experience, going into the underworld timeline to clear something or to notice something. So whenever that happens, it's not very pleasant, because you have to deal with a lot of the fear energy that's present there. But that's sort of my job, right? So I had to briefly go in and receive the message, get the message, have a clearer understanding of the emotional energies of that timeline, because all these timelines that they have me go through is still very much alive, because all these timelines are constantly, I would say, present, simultaneously existing. So that time, the idea of linear timeline of past, present, and future, it's kind of an illusion. It doesn't really exist that way. It's all happening simultaneously. So basically, when you change right now, you change the past, meaning that idea of different timelines, as well as your future timeline. It has the power. So that's why we say the power of now. So the only thing that is real and existing is the now, is an extension of what that means, actually. So, and then I came across some, that the energy of Jerusalem, the Nazareth, and all those energies start to come in. It was similar to the energies that I had been tapping into when I was Sydney, Australia. That was a lot, like, I would say 20-30 times darker than here. Here, a lot lighter, but still I was tapping into it. It wasn't pleasant. But that's the power struggle that we experience nowadays, or that happened throughout the history with the Pluto retrograde. And Pluto went direct now, is in direct in Aquarius, and we just had it in the first degree of Aquarius, which represents new beginning. So it represents the new era of sovereignty which I made all these like little short videos. It's all these shorts, YouTube shorts, even though it's a little bit like sarcastic or humorous, however it is, it's just my expression in that moment. But it's all related to the energy during that specific time period that we are going through in Ascension. Is to awaken the consciousness of people who come across that is divinely guided as well. So nothing is an accident. So it's either revealing the truth in them through triggers or helping them to elevate through inspiration. So either way, it's going to work very different for unique individuals. So with that, it comes a lot of both the light and the dark energies from my side and from other people's side, right? But that's how this energy or this world that we are living in, there's both very much existence of the light and the darkness at this time. So that's why I go into the underworld a lot. And also another thing that was interesting was a few days ago a message came that a lot of the ghosts that we see on like this, you know, people noticing ghosts in old houses and stuff like that, these lost souls, they need to be cleared out from Gaia as well. It was what I received for some reason. They're affecting the anchoring down of the light on a certain level is what is coming right now. So they need to be cleared eventually. Meaning they need to follow the light and then go through that path, but they're just lost. So there are a lot of these souls in certain parts of the regions around the world because of the trauma. Basically the trauma is a big thing. So ever since I got here, the word trauma has been coming through quite often in Portuguese language. So this collective trauma, that power struggle that came, that created the narcissism, that even the souls who have souls who are still connected to source, they turn out to be very narcissistic. And another thing that also came was the cabal, or the government behind the government. They're going to be exposed more from this time onwards, is what I'm going to share. So a lot of the hidden secrets, the hidden agendas, and the ties to a lot of the artists, political figures, and government figures, the royal families, and oops. So there's like a fly all of a sudden. So usually like when flies come up, it's a call for interference or like a distraction. So it's really interesting when you notice the pattern. They come out of nowhere in a very important conversation when you're about to discuss something or share something to distract you. Because this reality is like very much virtual. So that's what's going to happen. And another thing was the AI issue, the AI timeline, especially from like the East Asia, so-called China, Japan, Korea, and also for some reason Russia came through, even though the energy of the Russia on the mainstream media or social media is very much hidden what they're doing. But based on the energies that I received, they're doing a lot of AI developments, tech developments that are not shown to the outside world. China is very heavy on that. China is very heavy on that tech development, and recently they had me see this AI-based legs, and in China, in one of the like towns for tourists, they were renting out these gears, that you are able to rent it, and how they were promoting it or marketing it was like, it helps you run faster, it helps you hike better, faster, without much effort. So basically what they were sharing was that you're not running, the AI is learning about the frequency that you're holding, and they're adjusting and calculating something immediately, and then they're transferring that to their energy, and then they're moving at their pace. So the two Americans were trying it, who was making like a travel blog or something, traveling through China, and they're like, oh, China is so advanced. And that's the mentality right now. Whenever like they see an AI or this high tech that we don't know about is being seen, they see that as an advancement of some sort. That's out of the programmed consciousness, right? We immediately start to worship that, see it as a higher and better. So they were fascinated by it, and they tried, and and then he's like, the two of them was like, oh my god, I'm not running, I'm not doing anything, but it's moving me. So they don't really see the danger of this. People don't see the danger of this, how they're collecting data through your vibration, your frequency, and your movements. They're constantly learning. And in all those movies, like where these like lags or these AI machines, they start to chase after people or attack people. It's like, that's the future, one of the future timelines that's coming to my mind for some reason. So they're starting to collect a lot of data now, and China is very much promoting this, not just in that area, but they're kind of inserting into everyday life in rural areas as well, is what is coming. And ever since 2018, suddenly they started to, my spirit team had me see, like I think from 2020 or 2021, had me see all these Chinese dramas for a certain reason. Before, I never watched any of the Chinese dramas or even dramas or TVs for the past 10 years. But then all of a sudden I started to watch dramas and watch stuff. It was all guided, some historical Chinese dramas and some very modern, like romantic comedy type dramas or family type dramas. And what I had noticed was in China, they censor everything still. They censor all the dramas, all the music, the lyrics, and there's like a committee. And then once you finish filming, you have to go through that process. And if they say no, even though it took like 2 years of filming, the movies or the dramas cannot be shown. So there are a lot of movies and dramas that are blocked like that. And then after they change a script or redo a certain scene or something like that, it's able to be released, because all these things are very much highly censored because it's propaganda, basically. Even with the seemingly youth drama, like with teenagers or young adults living in a city life and stuff like that, they promote a certain industry there. They promote a certain, for example, like gaming industry, or for example, like tech industry. That's the background of the drama, and they subtly promote these areas to younger audience who's targeted to watch and like these kind of dramas. See, so that's what I've been studying, watching these dramas. And there are certain like behaviors and words that they use that represents the trends right now in China among these certain demographics, I would say. So That's very much heavily going on in China, and also in Korea. There are a lot of high-tech developments because, you know, Korea, Japan, China, we were in competition historically. We've always been in competition. We've always been in wars, even in Olympics or all these games, like it's Japan versus Korea, like China versus Korea. Like it's very much an important games to win, and if you lose, it's like our pride, because we have this like the trauma from the wars. So even though culturally, artistically, there are a lot of exchanges with love or respect, on other levels, still very much competitive energies going on, just like any other world, another countries in the world with like war traumas and histories. There's like a competition going on in certain countries in Europe. I heard like Germany has a lot of enemies, I would say, because of the World War II, right? Like France doesn't like Germany in that sense, or something like that, you know, for an example. Here, Brazil probably has something of that nature. So Japan also is working very hard. They've been doing a lot of experiments with stem cells, human stem cells, animal stem cells. So they're going with more of the biotech, is what I got based on my living experience in Osaka earlier this year. And then from what my spirit team wanted me to have as information for consolidation at this time. And also Korea with just advancement technology and AI, and especially China has been quietly investing a lot of money, energy, resources into this high-tech developments out of defense to like have this stronger army, basically to become like the strongest nation in the world, or you know, like the domination. That's the energy of the intention behind all of this tech, is what I'm receiving right now as well. And so they've been doing this for like past 25-30 years at least, is what is coming for me. So now it's just starting to show up a little bit as all this tech gears, or this like drone. So they're doing a lot of drone deliveries already, and people are heavily conditioned to view that as like highly advanced and nothing harming, or there's danger attached to that. So the energy of China is very heavy right now. And also what came was the energy of India that was very, very heavy. Energy of Nepal that was very heavy as well, that I shared in the latest video. The Nepal holds a very pure, high frequency light of gold and white light energy, and where the ascended masters are, and then it spread it out through India when the Buddha came. And so that energy needs to be cleared up or awakened again through Gaia's ley lines, in order to further support this ascension, or the raising of the frequency of Gaia down the line. And recently what I received was a lot of these heavy energies in rural India, still all these families where like the females are considered certain ways, and they have to do all this labor, and they live in a world where the communities do not protect women or equality of men, in a way that still a lot of the beating up of the wives from the men's side is happening. Like all this very much focused on how it's not like, is it chauvinistic? That's the word that is coming, or the man-oriented, the patriarchal society. So when that happens, they're taken they raise the issue. Like, for example, the woman was beat very hard by the husband in a village, and so she ran to her parents' house, but then she eventually had to go back to home because the parents wouldn't accept her because of their old mentality that if you're married, you no longer belong to us, you belong to your husband. So now she can't be with her husband because she's scared that her husband's gonna beat her up. But now she went to her parents, but they won't accept her, and so she's like nowhere. So she has no choice but to go back to the husband who's beating her. So she's taking this issue to the village commission, which is full of men. Only the men can be part of this committee. But then the corruption is the men could pay this committee, which they will use as a money for their own good, and the woman please, and then for justice, and then the committee will say, go back to your husband. The case is done. Something of this sort. So she needs to go back to her husband and live through that abuse or this violence or something of that sort, and the children need to witness and experience and live through this, carry this trauma. And this is still going on in 2025, very much heavily in India, the rural China, certain parts, what I'm seeing, and also Nepal, all these areas, all that region. And specifically, I'm guided to highlight these areas because of that gold white light that we need to activate at this time. But this is still going on in a lot of different cultures too. That's not on media. So that was very much highlighted, and that there was no freedom. And Korea used to be very much like this, very patriarchal based society. Then there were a lot of stuff that I also needed to work through because my ancestry carried a lot of these traumas, the Korean ancestry. So I'm very much familiar with that. And then when I was tapping into the energy, it was really dark and very much paralyzing energy, which was very similar to when I was tapping into my ancestry, even just my great grandmother's generation. It's not too long ago, so it's just pre-Korean War, so a lot of these remnants from especially the 1800s and 1900s still very much has a big impact on the psyche of the collective at this time. So I needed to look into it, and so in that sense, the energy of Taiwan plays a very important role at this time because the Taiwan needs to remain independent, and there are a lot of light workers, especially 144,000 light workers there. And their purpose is to unite their energies to stand against the energy of China that's very much rooted in the old ways of doing things, in the patriarchal or the centralized power structures. So the 144,000 light workers who are in Taiwan, they need to unite. And that's also going to help energy of the Nepal and the India. So that was the energy that was coming through, and the rainbow portal that started in the summer of last year, that opened up as the New Delhi means new portal. That energy came through, that message came through very often while I was still here. So that's what is taking place energetically right now, Ascension timeline wise, however resonates for you. What else? So a lot of these things are going on still, where the because of the structure, especially I received a message like a few days ago, like a week ago or something. Gen Z protest that was going on in Kathmandu in Nepal, because there's a lot of corruption that I didn't even realize, because we see Nepal as like a holy country, like all this stuff, but still how they live and the power structure there is very much corrupt, with the corrupted government and government officials, and the wealth is not distributed equally, or it's like there's still a lot of heavy enslavement going on among people, and with the cultural inheritance that that bind people in a certain way. And just like that Indian village, when you don't behave or do a certain thing, they ostracize you, bully you, and punish you and condemn you, just like what happened in like 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, like a long time ago. It's still very heavy in those regions, is what I'm guided to share, that I have been tapping into, which is extraordinary. That is a word that is coming, because for me, when I tap into the energy, it's not just on a mental level, it's as if I'm experiencing that. So just like the gas chamber timeline that came through, that a lot of the children who escaped, or the families who escaped, settled here in this region. A lot of the European population was here. They still carry very much high trauma of that. Ooh, and as I'm sharing this, my heart is getting like really like choked up a little bit. So right now, what is really important for anyone watching, resonating, or 144,000 light workers, especially if you are one and you know one, despite me not explaining what that is, then as best as you can, to forgive whatever hatred that may be surfacing. You need to look into it and purify your soul constantly, because there are more layers to than what meets the eye is what is coming. That what seems to be like, oh, we've been working on it very much, but then still there are certain layers, another one that's coming, because it's more complex than what we think, is what I'm guided to share. Simply, there are a lot of different layers that we are uncovering and purifying at this time. So continue to purify your soul that way. Any hatred, any judgments, any sadness, any all those energies, let them go in love. In love is a critical point. Because when you let it go with hate or fear, it's not really letting go, but you're just avoiding it or putting it aside because you don't like that. So we need to get out of the ego of duality of I like, I don't like. But when we go into love, the unconditional acceptance, you see that experience served the purpose, and so that you are feeling grateful for the lessons, and then you close that cycle out because you remain grateful, meaning high vibration, not lower vibration. And in that, you go into neutrality to unionize this duality aspect of the ego and purify that energy for you and for your ancestors and for the collective, basically. But when we are still holding on to some sort of resentment, hatred, it still holds on. Like something can hold on to you because you hold that fear or hatred. The lower vibration attracts the same energies. So to completely close that karmic cycle, or however it is, karmic contract that your soul chose to volunteer as a light worker or starseed, however you resonate, you are to continue to do that. And this is just for a specific group of people or souls who are maybe watching this right now, who are drawn to the energy here, that the mission that you're on is very much unique. They really want me to stress this out. The light workers, the 144,000, it's something that is just is. At the same time, there's no need for one to compare one's mission to another, because we can never really understand how the complexity of the mission based on how it appears on the outside, because that's the judgment coming in, projection and perspective, right? Everyone has a different idea, interpretation. So just it's best that you remain focused on your mission and honor your mission, and stay working with your spirit team, Source, Gaia, or however that your team that you're working with, Galactic. There's right now 2 different forces that I received. One big part of the group is the Earth group, which a lot of my mission is deeply resonated, that we came here very early on, and then we started to go and create karma on Earth for a purpose, living in different timelines, experiencing all these different karmas. And now it's our job to close it out, because we need to get out. Our mission is complete after this lifetime. So we need to get out, and so that's why we need to stay very much focused for this ascension. That it's not just to get out, but we are serving a mission, and you will have a very strong sense of purpose already, and that you have been very much tying your energy to the soul. So you're very much like, even though you're not from Earth, you're not from a human lineage, you're from the galactic lineage, like a starseed and other star systems. Because you chose to go through that very heavy, connect very heavy with Gaia, and have different timelines where you can connect to certain traumas or karmas, or dealing with karmic stuff here on Earth to clear, is for that reason. And that your work may revolve around very much the human stuff, but you never felt fit in, or you always felt different from the people you were around. And that was the difficult or the challenging part. As interesting, the word that is coming is missionary. It's like a missionary, galactic missionary. But you, not completely, but very much detached from the galactic timeline or the galactic stuff. You've been very much heavily anchored to the Earth grid, the Earth experience, even though you're not from here. So that was the difficult, challenging part. The other group is very much from the galactic side. So now they are born here, and then they already have all these memories, and they work in the astral, they work in the dream time. They astral travel quite easily, and then they connect with a lot of galactic souls, like in their dream time or something like that, whereas this Earth souls may not. And that doesn't mean you're not very highly galactic. It's just part of your mission. So that's why you don't do those things as much. And the other part, they do a lot of galactic stuff for a purpose, but they don't do a lot of the Earth stuff. So there is a different reason why that they're doing different things. But what I've noticed ever since I started to encounter more with the spiritual community or the galactic like souls like this, there was a lot of spiritual ego that I needed to experience, and I sort of noticed was like on this in the spiritual community, because of the common, like, or you say common people, meaning the people in the audience, like there's a programming, some sort of an idea that galactic is seen as higher and galactic is seen as like cool, more cool than being human or something like that. This idea was very much prevalent on a subconscious level that I noticed from the very beginning. And when they like, there's a group of like a community introducing themselves, and it's all like for me it was like name dropping, like I'm from this and I'm part of this committee, and I talk to like Arcturian council, I talk to this council, I talk to that council. So it's like but the energy that I was tapping into, it wasn't like neutral, but there was a lot of this, the ego and pride energy, like a very heavy, sticky one that I didn't feel comfortable when I was tapping into it. So that's the very much the spiritual ego side, so-called in human language, right? That a lot of these souls working on the galactic side, they needed to also face, because for them to be here, they also need to carry karma. So it's not that nobody can avoid this, is for some reason coming up again. So you need to look into it, and this is another power struggle as well that we need to clear up going into, you know, like the further timeline or the future timeline, however it is, the Ascension. So it's not to judge that, oh, I'm doing this so I'm more cool, or I'm doing this so I'm less cool. There's no such thing, but there's like, you may not say it, but there's like an underlying, I would say, power play. That is what is coming. Like superiority complex, inferiority. Like if you are, now you have a label of like, I'm a starseed, that I'm cool. Like something like that, you know, it's like, and that you're human and I'm not human. So I know better, I see better, like something of that nature. In a neutral sense, you may have certain different gifts and higher level of consciousness, innately, because that's your soul essence. But at the same time, you're still living in the ego, so you need to look into your ego as well and purify that, is what I'm guided to share. You know what I mean? So take however resonates for you, but that's what I'm guided to share at this time. So do not let the ego get the better of you, is what is coming, whether you're galactic, whether you're from Earth, whether you're this or that, whether you're on this mission. It's all unique. You don't know until you leave the body and you go into your soul and remember everything. And you may know who you are on a galactic level. You know your rankings, meaning like there is different spiritual levels in spiritual community as well on a soul level. But that shouldn't be tied to the idea of ego anymore, is what is coming, anymore. It used to be that way on a bigger picture level that was part of the journey for the collective as well. Like although spiritual ego idea was part of the human experience or experimentation, but now we are at a time we just need to purify everything. We need to purify that duality, or unify that duality. That judgment that's been anchored so heavily through the use of manipulated religions need to be purified, period. So that's what's been coming. Anything else? Just tapping in. So all these cultures uprising and all this like stuff that still be going on very heavily, will be going on very heavily, one by one be revealed. There's like a comet issue with the Atlas that came when ever since I came to Rio. Atlas, I didn't know what that was about at first, and it's like a comet that's coming towards the earth. There's another issue, and the NASA was coming through very strong. That's something something with NASA. Yeah, so a lot of stuff with NASA. And interesting, what is coming with is Kennedy, NASA and Kennedy. That's very interesting, but I don't see the connection right now, but it's coming up together. So there may be certain issues in regards to that. So we'll see, and I'll see based on the information and the messages I receive further for confirmation. Continue to purify. Continue to purify. And look at your emotions. And be very honest with it. And sometimes we have to go through the avoidance and then come to a realization of facing our own emotions truthfully. And that's okay, that's part of the journey. But at the end of the day, look at it from a place of love, that place of compassion, empathy, that it's a very much of a fine game of balance, where you need to recognize the energy of compassion within you and let it go in love, not hating those people or situations or that timeline or however it is for you, but at the same time to not let that meddle your emotional energies and get delusional or illusional that you're not seeing something for what it is. So when we are in disempowered state like that, what could happen is you could see someone's potential as who they are, but that's your loving side, because you see the potential in everyone. But they're very narcissistic. They have very narcissistic tendencies. Their energy is not healthy. Their patterns are not healthy. But you still are trying to help them out. That's the martyr complex, or that's the empowered empaths, for example. But you have to also at the same time understand and see them for who they are with your third eye, or the situation that it's not healthy, it's toxic or it's narcissistic, then you need to draw your boundaries. So that's where both the energy of the Virgo and energy of the Pisces are needed. And we've been working with that very heavily during the eclipse season and during those Virgo seasons very heavily in order to have that discernment. But stay in love and stay in compassion, stay in unconditional acceptance. But we need to walk out. And one of the things that we didn't learn was the best thing we learned as a kind of manipulated conditions is to like love everyone, like in religion, and judge no one and accept everyone. That was very toxic. You don't accept just everyone because you need to be in unconditional love. You need to discern when you understand the soul journey. Because soul journey is unique and you can't change anybody, you can't make them change anything. They have to activate that within themselves. That's their power. But when we interfere, that's interference on our part and on their part. So it creates karma. You see what I mean? So this is the part where they kept it hidden. And they taught you to just accept, just love everybody, and just be nice to everyone. Go to church every Sunday, even though you don't want to, against your free will, right? They don't respect free will in religion. If you don't obey, you get punished. So the best thing that you can do for certain people, even though you love them deeply, is to walk away, to let them handle their own stuff. But that's not out of you abandoning them or you escaping out of the situation or you just neglecting them, but it's from when the intention is out of love. That's the best thing that you can do for someone. That may be very hard for someone to understand or disagree at this moment, but that's the truth that I hold, so I'm sharing that, right? That they need to realize something within themselves and change themselves. We can't change someone. Just like we learn to change the world, we've been heavily conditioned. We can't. We're not here to do that. You see what I mean? So that's the basic idea. And let them rise with you, let them grow, and if they can grow with you, if they're not to level up with you, then they can't go with you. And if they can show up on a certain level that you are showing up, they can be with you because the energy is not going to be reciprocal. You know what I mean? So you have to have, in a human language sense, higher standards, but it's not about higher or lower, but just from knowing how the soul journey works, then you will understand naturally that you're going to be in that place, knowing yourself now. It is an empowered state is what I'm going to share. So do not doubt, and do not doubt your decisions because you made, or do not go back to that old decisions, or do not be manipulated by all those energies emotionally wanting to manipulate you to save them, or it's not really saving them. They just want your energy for them. So they're just sucking the life out of you, basically, in the face of a family, in the face of friends, in the face of people who are in need of help. You need to discern with the energies. So I think that's all that I feel like I need to wrap up here. That I hope this message helped. This time of me sharing this with you guys helped anyone. And with that, I'm grateful for your presence here, and I'm sending you lots of love from my heart to yours. For those of you who are sincere to receive and reciprocate, I appreciate you. And with that, I'll see you in my other videos. Bye.